Hello, Huw Turbeville here, the editor of the Cricketer magazine, and I have got a very special guest with me, Ashley Giles, the former England spin bowler, all-rounder, and now is CEO, Chief Executive of Worcestershire County Cricket Club. Thanks for joining me, Ashley.
Cheers, Huw. Good to see you.
Yeah, and you. Last time I saw you at the ECB and we had breakfast at Lord's, didn't we, which was nice.
I think you brought me breakfast, yeah, which is always good.
Right. Well, this year is, of course, the 20th anniversary of the famous 2005 Ashes. And in the last but one magazine, we had Simon Jones. So I'm going to probably try and get everybody, I think, this year, because now I've got you.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it was exciting. I know you've got a lot of events lined up, haven't you, this year?
Yeah, I think there's all sorts. Yeah, I mean, it'd be great if we can get together because we've been together as a group previously. Not all of us, I don't think. I don't think we've ever got all 12 of us in the room since 2005, but we've had as many as 10 or 11. What we went through that year is a very special year, and I think there'll always be a certain bond between that group of people who went through it. So can't quite believe it's 20 years.
No.
But that time's gone far too quickly, but still look back on it, obviously, with very fond memories.
Yeah, so is it the 11 of you plus Paul Collingwood, of course, who played in the last test for the injured Simon Jones. It's
Yeah.
very steady lineup, wasn't it? Looking back, I mean, I suppose it's pretty steady these days, isn't it? But there have been periods like summer of 1989 where there are 29 players. So yeah, it was a very steady period, wasn't it? It didn't start well, did it? And I was at a do with you the other night. It reminded me of you did. You really bounced back, didn't you, after that first test? You personally and the team, didn't you? Because the first test didn't go well, did it?
Yeah, I think that's an understatement. It started well. The first day, or the first half a day at Lord's, having lost the toss, the way we fielded, bowling Australia out for 190, I thought we did what we said we'd do, which is hit them really hard. Our seamers bowled with real aggression and pace. The atmosphere at Lord's was incredible. The atmosphere in the long room, which we'd never seen the like of, with members sort of jumping up and down and cheering us onto the field. So everything was, for half a day was right on track. And then I think by the end of the day, we were 7 down and right behind the 8 ball again. And from there, although we probably had a window, I think, in the second innings where we had Australia 100 and odd for 3. And I think we dropped a catch. But after that, it was pretty much one-way traffic. And in the end, an easy defeat, 230-odd runs. It was quite chastening. And I suppose we should have expected the backlash that we had and probably deserved it, in hindsight. I was disappointed with my own performance, disappointed with the team performance. Then I got sucked into what everyone was saying about the team performance and my performance, and probably should have just got my head down and concentrated on the cricket. But it was then a really difficult week between first and second test match. Some valuable lessons learned all round.
You did a column in The Guardian, didn't you? You were a columnist in The Guardian at the time, and you did a sort of brave column saying, you were going to bounce back, which was good. You fronted up, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I got sucked into. I got sucked into first just some personal criticism. I think there was one quote that said playing Giles is akin to playing 10 men, and I got asked for comment more generally, probably at the wrong time. When you're already pretty fed up, say disappointed with your own performance, tired. The build up to Lord's had been, emotionally and physically exhausting. You're getting to that first test match, that first day, and then the disappointment of losing. So when asked for comment, as I say, I probably should have just turned around and said, you know what, I'm all right. I'll just concentrate on the cricket, but I didn't. But I think most of my defence was about the team. We hadn't, given how we played cricket in the build-up in that year before and longer, we hadn't become a bad team overnight. So I thought some of the criticism was unfair, but probably should have kept that to myself rather than get embroiled in a battle in the media.
We won't mention the names, but did you? I mean, you did make them eat their words, didn't you? I mean, your partnership with Matthew Hoggard at Trent Bridge, and obviously the partnership with KP at the Oval, and then you took crucial wickets. You fought back, didn't you?
Yeah, it doesn't always work out like that, but yeah, in the end, and it certainly wasn't about that. It wasn't about proving the critics wrong. I don't think I ever, and it's a long time ago. I don't think I ever turned around and sort of two fingers up to everyone. It was much more about the team performance and us winning the Ashes back, and it. I suppose only when you get to the end of a summer like that and a series like that can you really enjoy it, because you right up until that last afternoon you don't know what the outcome's going to be, and there's certainly less enjoyment, less hype if we to have lost on that last day, levelled the series, and not won the Ashes. So, but I guess that's what's special about events like that. They take a long time. Um, every session of that series almost felt as long as a Test match. Just the amount of action, the amount of tension. So yeah, when we got to the end of that summer, it felt very special. But it was, I used the word earlier, exhausting. We were just on our knees. It almost been like two gladiators just smashing it out in the arena for 6 weeks, and I think both sides were pretty tired by the end of it.
You had to go to Pakistan quite quickly after that, didn't you? And but do you think, just looking back on your career, the two best series you had previous to that were Pakistan 2000, 2001, when you took 17 wickets, and then West Indies at home 2004. You did very well, didn't you? 9 wickets in each of two tests, I think.
Yeah, so certainly the best ever summer was 2004 for me, and that really was a big turnaround, because I started that summer again in a pretty dark place, and I've spoken about this quite a lot, but a lot of self doubt. I wasn't performing very well. I was listening to the critics, stuff I'd done previously and done after that actually, but I'd got myself into a place where I just wasn't. I wasn't either enjoying my cricket or doing my job, um, and it was actually a meeting with Steve Bull, who was our sports psych, just straightened me out and get my head clearer. Almost there's an element of that control of controllables, but almost worrying about what's important, which is the job you do for the team, how you practice, how you train, and almost from that moment forwards, the rest of the summer, from the third test against New Zealand at Trent Bridge, where I got 240 not out, so I got 6 wickets in the game. From that moment forward, 2004 was just a dream. Just one of my really enjoyable periods in Test cricket, and I often say, a lot of my career, and this sounds unappreciative, but is not enjoyable, because I didn't always find it that easy, and some people wouldn't be surprised to hear that. But it's hard work. But 2004, that period was everything was just in flow. I just hit a real purple patch, and so enjoyable. For us to be part of that team that year, won 7 out of 7. We were on a real journey then towards the Ashes, but without that meeting with Steve Bull, I probably wouldn't have made it to the Ashes, without turning it around. And then, you mentioned Pakistan. That was my first full Test series, my first overseas tour in the Test team, and we went there as underdogs, really, with the spin department that was Ian Salisbury and myself against Mushtaq, Zach Lane, against Pakistan on their own turf. But again, it was a dream start, dream winter, and again, being part of that team at the start of a journey, which was really the early part of that journey between Fletch and Nasser Hussain, where there was a really great work ethic, a lot of attention to detail around how we practice. Fletch was one of the best technical coaches I've worked with. So and I suppose for me as a young spinner in that team, it was a bit of a free hit. because expectation was quite low. But Pakistan was one of the most enjoyable tours I've been on. It was a great place. We had lots of laughs. We did some incredible things, and then coming away with victory on that last night in the dark in Karachi. Yeah, we'll certainly, that's one of the memories that will stay with me forever.
Amazing. And then you had Crofty with you in Sri Lanka, didn't you, in tandem? So
Um,
good.
yeah, Crofty played in Sri Lanka. I didn't go so well in Sri Lanka until the last Test match, and I'd started struggling with an Achilles problem I'd had for years, but it really started to grind. Didn't bowl with as much rhythm in the first two Test matches. Didn't have much to do at Candy anyway, because for some reason they prepared a sort of green seamer that suited Gough and Caddick mainly. But in the last Test, just clicked back into rhythm. I bowled well in the first innings, got 2 wickets, I remember, and then I think I got 4 for 11 or something like that in the second innings. And we, as so often happens in the subcontinent, games go from relative calm, and then they really speed up towards the back end when the pitch starts to wear.
Mm.
And being at the end, batting with Graham Thorpe at the end, I think he hit the winning runs in that Test match as well. Scrambled a single to cover, but Graham played incredibly well. Yeah, in that series, that's high class batting against spin. But yeah, for a first full winter in Test cricket, to come away with wins in Pakistan and Sri Lanka, two of the hardest places to play, but as a spinner, two of the most enjoyable. It was a pretty decent start.
Yeah, it must be one of England's greatest winters. Unfortunately, the final one was the Ashes in 2006-07, which was not so good. And it was just such a shame, wasn't it? Because do you think almost England had sort of run their batteries down in 2005 and things? What do you think?
Yeah, batteries. I don't know. I think we had. There were a number of issues. Maybe, yeah. In some ways, 2005 was for that group our finishing line, but there was a lot going on, and that group never played again. Simon Jones obviously never played for England again. Michael Vaughan was injured. Beginning of the trip, Marcus Trescothick went home. I'd not played a first-class game until I arrived in Australia because of the hip injury I'd been carrying. So there was a lot going on, and winning in Australia is difficult anyway. But we got well and truly beaten in the first Test, the second Test from a position of of strength, and then relative safety. We had a really bad last day where we didn't go anywhere, and just sort of dug our own grave. And as it turned out, that was my last Test match, and disappointing way to go out. But I got dropped for the third Test in Perth, but then went home soon after that because of my wife's illness. So it was a pretty bad couple of weeks all round.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, lots to look back on with fondness on your career. Are you happy with the way it went? Would you change anything again? Would you do anything differently?
Look, I think, Huw, it's always easy to do the what ifs and could have done, shoulda, coulda, wouldas. But when I prefer now to often reflect of sort of where I've come from, the journey you make as a young lad starting out playing cricket on the village green, the experiences I've had, the places I've played, the teams I've played with, to have been part of that Ashes winning team in 2005. I think it would seem a bit ungrateful if I called on too much to be different. It's been a privilege. We'll probably now talk about the management and coaching career, but all of it really has been a privilege to be able to have the experiences, to be involved in things. They're not always easy, and there's some tough times along the way, but I feel hugely privileged.
Went a long way from being a left arm seamer. Was it Guildford area to bowling left arm spin? Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, grew up on the village green at Ripley, a little village just outside the M25, about 6 miles from Guildford. And I've said before, some of my purest memories of cricket are still on that village green because it's just nice, it's just easy. But yeah, I moved to Guildford fairly early because I had to leave village cricket behind and go up a level, and Guildford was my home until I went north to Warwickshire. So it's a great place to grow up.
Hmm. Now, you've had a very busy time of it off the field in the last 6, 7, 18 years. I mean, you could write a manual, couldn't you, of sort of management because you've done every role conceivable, just about, haven't you? I mean, obviously, we can't talk about everyone in great detail, but Warwickshire Director of Cricket 2007, England, and then in England selected alongside that in 2008. England One Day Coach 2012, Lancashire Head Coach 2014, Warwickshire Sporting Director 2016, England Men's Cricket MD 2018, and then you became CEO at Worcestershire in July 23. I mean, looking at that CV, the county jobs went very well, didn't they? I mean, let's start on the positive. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, Warwickshire, Lancashire, Warwickshire, all good. You did so well that your nation came calling, didn't it?
Yeah. So Warwickshire, spent 5 years there as head coach and director of cricket, and I think that's one of the journeys I'm proudest of, because moving from the playing to into that position, we weren't very good when we took over. We'd just been double relegated in white ball and red ball cricket, and so it was very much about the journey back to respect, being respected, playing better cricket, discipline. And there were some hard yards along that journey as well. But in 5 years, we went from a side who wasn't respected and a second division team into almost to the day 5 years we won the county championship, and in that time also won Division 2. We won Division 2 of the Pro 40. We won the Lord's Final. We finished second in the championship in 11. So it was a real steady progression. We put a good team together, and that team actually played a lot of cricket together for the best part of 10 years. So, and having played all my cricket at Warwickshire, it was a proud journey in that to join the likes of Inverarity and particularly Bob Woolmer, Phil Neal as head coaches who'd won championships for Warwickshire, then it was a particularly proud moment.
Lovely. England One Day Coach. So, I mean, I felt sorry for you looking back because, you were given the squad that the selectors gave you, and there was rotation, wasn't there? And you weren't getting the best team. It was. And Andy Flower was the test coach, and it was tricky for you, wasn't it? I mean, you were trying to do your best to sort of stay cordial with him, but I mean, unfortunately, you were given some slightly weaker sides, weren't you?
It was a tricky thing, and as we've seen recently, split coaches remains tricky because they're always going to be competing desires, demands. One side's probably going to be playing better than the other, and then how those environments are looked upon and the leadership's looked upon can be very different. But at the time, I think we had, for a big part of that, we had back-to-back Ashes series, so clearly the priority was going to be placed there. So it always made it a bit more challenging for me, but no regrets. Learned a lot. We finished runners-up in the Champions Trophy, which at the time, it was even closer than we got in 2004 when I was playing. We got really close to winning the Champions Trophy. Probably should have got over the line, but learned a lot from that experience. But I say probably the bigger picture, as we've now seen McCullum go back to coaching both teams, it is always difficult with split coaches.
And so much international cricket, rather, so much international cricket. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Lancashire were next. Any connections with the Red Rose County before that, or
not at all?
No.
Got a call, got the opportunity. Weirdly, I actually got the call. I was in Manchester. I was on the sort of induction day for a master's course. So I took a master's in sports directorship at Manchester Metropolitan. So as I got the call from actually Paul Allott, I think it was, first called me, I was standing on close to the top of this building, look over Manchester, and I thought that sounds like a good challenge. And I only had 2 years there, but thoroughly enjoyed my time at Lancashire. Great club, great people. I got very well looked after. It's interesting working across different clubs because I said I've spent a lot of my time at Warwickshire. Different cultures, different sort of people, different ways of playing. But again, really enjoyable. Promotion the first year, winning T20 Blast in 15 was one of my best moments in the game again, being at Edgbaston for finals day and winning it. And I think that was the last major trophy they won actually in 2015. So, in the end, it was a family decision. It wasn't about going back to Warwickshire necessarily. It was the family had never relocated. Kids were of an age that coming up to exams and quite difficult, and every game was an away game. And even in the winter, I was spending 4 or 5 days a week up there, and it just became too challenging for us as a family.
Well, Warwickshire came knocking. A new sort of role, wasn't it? Sporting director.
Yeah.
Was that when you did a bit of netball? Were you involved with England netball, or?
Yeah, well, actually, that was towards the end of my time. Actually, probably just as I joined Warwickshire again, I also joined the board of England netball as a non-exec, which was something I wanted to do, just give me different experience across different sports. But went back to Warwickshire, so I'd done the Masters. I suppose I'd always thought there would need to be a time when I moved from tracksuit into suit or chinos, whatever we wear. And that was the opportunity. So we renamed it rather than me just going back as director of cricket. We used the sporting director because it was more. I suppose I was sort of the chief exec of sport. I was leading across all sport.
Were there other sports though, other than cricket? Or?
No,
just cricket.
It was only cricket. Yeah, but again, going back there, had quite a big job on my hands because we actually had to do quite a lot of restructuring, start again. A lot of the players I'd left there in 2012 were still there, and we needed to change things up, and that meant we got relegated in year one, and there was quite a lot of agony. But we recruited well. In year two, we went back up as champions, and we're starting that journey into a good place again, I think. And then, I wouldn't say England came calling, but unfortunately, because of Strauss's situation with Ruth's illness, Strauss left his position, and that became available. And I'd always, I suppose, been quite honest with Warwickshire that was probably the one job, if it came up, that I would want to go for, because in those roles that's the top of the tree.
Yeah. As ever, I can remember loads and loads of stuff about the mid 2000s, but not so much about the 2018. But I mean, tell me about your tenure there. I mean, it was obviously COVID made it tricky.
So I took over in beginning of 19, and we I went into a World Cup year, and I suppose I often talk about, in terms of management, you needing to flex your style depending on what's in front of you. And when I first arrived at Warwickshire in 2007, I had to be quite hard-lined and more stick than carrot. But when you go into that environment in 2019, and we're on the verge of a World Cup, that team's come a long way already. So my job was just to try and make sure we enabled, we removed as much interference as possible, and let the guys concentrate on the cricket. And it was, well, as we all know, history would tell us it was pretty tight in the end, but it was a really, really great day that day at Lord's when the team got over the line and won the World Cup. We then went through, obviously, Trevor Bayliss leaving, a new head coach. and pre-Christmas that start was, it was challenging, but then post-Christmas, went to South Africa, or just before Christmas went to South Africa. I think it was that winter, wasn't it? Yeah, and from 1-0 down, won 3-1, and that, we really played some good cricket. And then we were heading to Sri Lanka, and we just got to Sri Lanka and actually played some good warm up. The team was in a good place. Ruti was playing well, and then the whole world changed. And it, from within the space of a week, from saying, from having conversations that are, have we got, do we think we've got a problem here? Probably not. This will be okay. To me making the decision to bring them home. At that time was a huge call, because those things, you just didn't do those things. But thankfully we did it when we did it, because everything shut down a few days later, and it could have been an absolute nightmare. And there's much of COVID that I think, again, we're very proud of. We were the first international team back to playing. We designed these, these bubble environments. We got cricket back on, and it was challenging, but it was really rewarding as well. And I think rewarding for people at home who were stuck at home, being able to watch cricket and watch international cricket. We should be very thankful to our oppositions as well for coming over at the time. But almost the more that went on, the more difficult it became, because we kept asking the same people to go back into the same environments. The challenge therefore got bigger. And we almost couldn't see the finish line to it. So it got through our summer, and then we had to go again and go again and go again. And certainly by the time we got round to the Ashes, we were, I think quite a few of us were on our knees. And realistically, Huw, you never go into a series feeling like this, but our chances of winning the Ashes when we arrived were pretty slim. Just from where the players were, from the circumstances, where some of the management were, there was I think there was a feeling of burnout throughout the group.
Yeah, it was sad. So, I mean, like so many other people, that an Ashes away series sort of brought things to a conclusion, that chapter. But you're chief exec now of Worcestershire, so exciting. I mean, and you're using your directorship of sport degree. I take it, very much. And
yeah. Look, it's again another hurdle that I wanted to take on at some point, because most of my jobs have been very performance focused. Although the MD of England is a big job with much bigger budgets, with higher profile in terms of attention and pressure. But I've probably learnt more in the last 20 months of this job than I've learnt in any other job, because it's much broader. The commercial aspects, the finance aspects, marketing, ground, and I still have director of cricket responsibilities as well. So a really broad role for me, and some really big challenges. We're one of the smaller venues, but we've got a lot of challenge. I think the biggest one across the game is ensuring that there is financial sustainability for the 18 going forwards, and of course for us more locally, it's the ground issues, probably the most or the biggest issue we face.
Yeah, so you had 7 floods last winter, and you've had 4 this winter, and you fearing that it'll be a 7 again. Tell me, the water, was it 9 feet of water, 10 feet of water you sometimes get on the ground?
Yeah, so we often talk to people about the flooding, and I think some who haven't experienced it or been here think it's a couple of inches splashing around your ankles. But yeah, in the I think I called it the night at the deep end. It can be sort of 9 foot, and in the shallow end about 4.5, 5 when it's really bad. So it's a lot of water, and we do sit on a functional floodplain. We know the weather's getting worse. The situation, I think anyone who thinks there's not a climate change effect is firmly burying their head in the sand. But for us, it's real, and it's a threat to us, and it's a threat to our long-term sustainability as a club.
Did you? Worcestershire Rapids, is that an irreverent sort of take on the flooding, or did that come about something else? You calling the blast team the Rapids, was that just sort of making light, trying to put a brave face on the flood situation, or did that come about for some other reason?
I'm not totally sure. It was way before me, so this, we're talking 10 years of the.
It only really sort of dawned on me the other night that Worcestershire Rapids, the Floods. It's just an ironic name, wasn't it? But
yeah, I think the company we work with, Beard, who do a lot of our design and branding stuff, they, I think they thought that was quite bold at the time, but it's worked. It's worked out right, actually. Yeah, it's a good brand.
I mean, you must get annoyed with people like me who sort of say how sad it would be if you left the beautiful new road and with underneath the cathedral and everything. But I mean, I have become sort of more aware of what you're facing. I mean, you were telling me, the water is filthy, isn't it? And everything, and it sort of leaves silt, is it, on the ground? So, yeah. I mean, it's a real danger, isn't it? And you have said there's a possibility you might have to leave, which is sad, but I can appreciate.
Yeah.
There's the dilemma now, the conundrum.
Yeah. Firstly, I mean, I don't get angry with anyone or frustrated with anyone who has those feelings, because I absolutely get it. It's a beautiful ground.
Mm.
In the middle of summer, when you've got that view and the sun's out, it's one of the best grounds in the world. It's often a lot of people's second best ground, second favourite ground.
Mm.
So I absolutely get that emotional attachment. In an ideal place, none of us would want to even think about leaving New Road. But what we've got to try and do is decouple the whole sustainability of the county cricket club and the sustainability of the ground, because the club has to come first. And as you touched on there's a human cost as well, because it's not nice water. There's all sorts of chemicals, and the human cost to our people here, whether it be the people who actually deal with it hands-on and the clean-up, or even some of my commercial staff who are trying to make the very most of the ground and our facilities, and the financial aspect of every time we get flooded, it costs us. And if we have to move cricket away from New Road, as we did last year for 2 months, close to 2 months, that comes with huge cost as well, and can't continue. So ultimately, it won't be down to us. We'll the board may make a recommendation, but we're a members club and we'll go to the members. But we've got a very smart and astute membership, and I'm sure they'll whatever that decision is, they'll come up with the right decision.
Cool. Just so coming towards the end, 100. Again, traditionalists don't like it. Traditionalists say, "Oh, I wish Worcestershire were playing T20 matches in the school summer holidays," and it makes people a bit sad sometimes when they hear county chiefs sort of saying, "Oh, great, we've got this money coming from the 100." But are we again being unrealistic? Us traditionalists, sort of.
Well, look, I don't think there's one or the other. I think we understand that. I think we should understand that 100's here for the right reason, and that in many ways it's done its job. So it's attracted new audience. It's brought new commercial aspects to the game, and it's very likely that we'll all be beneficiaries of any sale that is currently going on in the 100. And that's not about, there's loads of money coming from the 100. It's, again, going back to that long-term sustainability of the game, that point. And that means, we can continue to have 18 first-class counties, the satellites for cricket around the country, and much more than that. We feel our place as part of the a centre of the community for whether it be entertainment, sport, hospitality. We're a place for people to meet, and we hope any proceeds from a 100 sale would help us do that even better and be more efficient in delivering cricket.
But wouldn't you have made money out of hosting a blast game in every week in August for the last 3 years, 12 blast games? It's not. Do you see what I'm saying? Or I mean,
Well, we make, I mean, we make money out of our blast competition. It's very important to us. 7 home games in the blast are crucial to our finances. Our 50 over cricket in August actually has been a great success. So whilst we can talk about that being behind the 100 and all of that stuff from a performance point of view, our members have loved it. I often talk about it as just a great day at the cricket. Those games with some really good atmospheres. We get our young players playing, and I think our members should enjoy it from that aspect. The good weather, good cricket, see some young cricketers, see them play hard. So that stuff's all good. I think the 100 adds a different perspective of that franchise model, and I think from a macro point of view, we really do need a competition that can compete at the top end of franchise competitions going forwards, because we're seeing this battle between bilateral cricket and franchise cricket, and that's not going to go away. And when it comes to a settling of Division 1 and Division 2, almost, I'm not saying there's going to be divisions, but of a quality of franchise competitions, well, given England's standing in the game, they need a competition that can compete with the likes of the IPL and America, South Africa, Dubai, all those sort of competitions.
do you think there might be a second tier of the 100 with a Worcestershire-based or Worcester-based team in it, which might necessarily have promotion or relegation? Or
I don't know. I think that's unlikely, if I'm honest. Will there be an expansion phase of the 100 at some point? Maybe. And there could be an arms race towards that point of an expansion. But at the moment, I think the important thing for the game is making the 100 as good a competition as you possibly can, alongside our other competitions as well, because there'll be a lot of talk coming up around the domestic schedule, what that looks like, how much cricket we're playing, how good is it for our players, and that balance, to be honest, is probably just a bit out at the moment. There's a lot of good commercial aspects, but when I put my director of cricket hat on, is the current schedule really high performance? Well, that's arguable, and we've got to try and get the balance.
Yeah, they're looking at the number of red ball championship rounds again this year, I expect, aren't they? We've got a big thing in the Cricketer about how much red ball cricket's played around the world, and then the next magazine, which is March, little plug for that. So, I mean, what was the decision not to go for the Tier 1 team in the women's new setup? Just a financial thing that you just wouldn't be able to afford it, or
two aspects really, mainly resource. Yeah, so I suppose finances slip into that category, but in terms of where we are with the ground currently, our facilities, we don't have an indoor school, a situation with the flooding, and certainly finances. We didn't think we would be in a position to be able to put in that extra piece that's needed at Tier 1, and so, to be quite frank, rather than wasting anyone's time, let's go for Tier 2. We're absolutely committed to women's cricket and make that as good as we can. I think, again, from a Tier 2 perspective, the most important thing for me is that we get as many women and girls interested in the game as possible in this first bit, and not expect too much in terms of high performance of Tier 2, but we want to take the game out to clubs, get people interested, get them coming to watch, get them pick up a bat and playing, and that's how we start. We want to increase that base, if you like, for the game in Worcestershire and go from there.
Now, I told you, didn't I, that I've got the Worcestershire calendar.
Yeah.
Have you got one, or they're very good?
Actually,
Mr. Wallace did them. I've got his name somewhere. That's really bad, actually, but David Wallace. Yeah. So anyway, Worcestershire calendar. I'll give that a little plug. And I'll just say thanks very much, actually. Yeah,
No
that's
problem. No, it's good to see you.
very kind of you to give me 45 minutes of your time. I appreciate it. And
No
hope to see
problem
you.
at all. Yeah, we'll do. Thank you, Huw. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, mate.